Sometimes it is the purpose of an entity just to perpetuate itself. It is endemic even in biology. When it becomes endemic in governance and sociology, we then get faced with fundamental existential questions. The premise of the Kim regime in Korea is simply just to perpetuate itself. They're not interested in what happens to the people. They're not interested in governance. They're interested in one thing. Similarly, for the scope of 200 years, the British Raj was not interested. They sold you the story of the telegraph and the railway lines. But why were all these built? For whose convenience? Not for the betterment of the people, surely, who died in famines in their millions, who were forced to produce indigo and opium. It wasn't for the benefit of the people. The objective of the governance of the British Raj was not the welfare of the people of India. It was not the white man's burden. It was the white man's loot. It was the perpetuation of the British Raj. So when, through their various Government of India Acts and other legislations, they brought forth legislation in this country, it was predicated on the fact that the legislation is in the service of the Raj. Therefore, as introduced in the 1860s and then amended and inserted in 1898, Article 124A, and it read, "Whoever by words, either spoken or written, or by signs or by visible representation or otherwise, brings or attempts to bring into hatred or contempt, or excites or attempts to excite disaffection towards the government established by law, shall be punished with imprisonment for life, to which fine may be added, or with imprisonment which may extend to 3 years, to which fine may be added, or with a fine." Now, various amendments have been already put into this, and in 2022, the matter came before the courts. And the Government of India, the present Government of India, said before the courts that a serious attempt is being made, effort is being made, legislative effort to re-examine the sedition law, and if time could be given. Well, as of this time yesterday, there has been a fundamental change. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we all are intelligent enough to understand that the veracity, the force of the devil is in the detail. Any law is as good or as bad as its interpretation and its implementation. We accept that. But in the new law, by removing the word government and replacing it with those who try to malign and attack the unity and integrity of India, you can argue that, oh, the BJP thinks they are India and the government thinks they are India. But in fundamental language of the law, there has been a change. This change has been spoken on recorded speech by the Home Minister, recorded, that criticism of the government is no longer under sedition. Amit Shah has stood before the people and gone on record and saying, you can criticize the government. He knows what he's saying. He knows that later on, when people who do criticize may go to court, and they will quote him. Now, if you look at many things that could have been done, should have been done. Ayodhya could have been done, should have been done long ago. 370 could have been done, should have been done long ago. Women's quota could have been done, should have been done long ago. Sedition could have been done, should have been done long ago. Now, we can nitpick on it as we should. We can find the loopholes as they always will remain. And yes, every law has the potential of abuse and misuse. Well, previous governments have abused and misused the sedition law, but they had the option and the opportunity for several decades to at least bring upon some fundamental change. Could have been done, should have been done, but it wasn't. Now it has been. So as we head into an election cycle and the BJP comes and says the Modi guarantee, has it now earned in at least many quarters even grudging respect? That we've done it, however imperfect things might be, at least it's been done. Let me open up this conversation. Joining us on the broadcast is General Dhruv Katoch. RVS Mani is with us. Madhav Nalapat is joining us, and Himanshu Bhatt, senior journalist, with us on the broadcast. Professor Nalapat, let me begin with you, sir. I've had the opportunity to interact with you for many, many years now, and this has been a pet peeve on these kinds of legislations, including sedition, OSA, and others. What do you make of what has happened in the new law, sir?
You're right, Rishabh. For more than 30 years, I've been arguing that this kind of a law has no place in a democracy. I want to ask you in terms of logic. Supposing you are opposing the government and you're subject to this kind of penalty, the whole purpose of democracy is basically to object to government if you don't like the government, and then to use the peaceful means of the ballot box, not the bullet, not violence, but the ballot box, to try and change that government. And we have seen that multiple times. But this is what is sedition. And as as soon as we became a democracy in 1947, this absurdity should have been removed from the statute books. It was retained. And finally, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, it took Prime Minister Modi to come forward and say, it's not a question of Raj Droha, that is, talking against the government. It's a question of Desh Droha, talking against the nation, against the country. And guess what, Rishabh? There have been so many people who have been talking. I mean, there are so many instances that are there in social media. There are instances that have been there in print, basically saying, no, the country should break up, or a part of the country should break up. A part of the country does not belong to India. Nothing happens to them. Why? Because it's Desh Droha and not Raj Droha. So I think it's a very welcome step that has been taken. It has frankly been, as you very correctly pointed out, more than 7 decades late, if you ask me. But it's an absurdity in a democracy to say that Raj Droha is a crime, whereas Desh Droha is not a crime. Should be the other way around, and fortunately that's the case. I've been arguing this for some time. For example, again, criminal defamation. The UPA protected the criminal defamation law in a very tender manner. Mr. Rahul Gandhi was around during the UPA period, and he maintained that law. And guess what? That law came back and bit him. Now, and if that law had been removed, and I have argued about 40 to 50 times before, individuals UPA on media during the UPA period, please get rid of this law. If Rahul Gandhi had got rid of that law, it would not have come back and bitten him. Narendra Modi is on track to reforming India from the colonial construct that basically supported whoever ruled, no matter what misdeeds they did, and bring back power to the people. Okay. And bring back power to ensure that those who hurt the people are proceeded against. And I think it's a very welcome move. Okay. It comes very late in our democracy, but thank God it is
okay. So there are times when actions speak louder than words. Now, RVS Mani, in some form of substance, I've gone through the critiques of this already over the course of the past 24 hours. So the people who are critical of this have had a chance to speak and make their erudite objections. But in substance now is something different. Replacing Raj Droha with Desh Droha, the word government with the integrity of the Union of India. Does it make a substantive difference when the matters now come before the court and its interpretation of this new law?
Indeed, it does make a substantive difference. I will recall the recent statement of one, I don't know what to call him, a member of parliament. He did not do any honor to his position of saying that South-North divide he was talking about. It is a part, it can be a fit case, but in the earlier case, it was not a government, anti-government, but this is certainly a Desh Droha case. So, and not only that, there were a lot of economics to this non-action on the part of many of the clauses you had quoted, 370, women's reservation, 124.4, etc., etc. It is not just that the inaction by the particular set of group of a particular clan of political leadership who had been at the helm of the affairs for most part of the years. There was economics about it. 370, General Katoj will say how people have prospered under the garb of 370. Similarly, this sedition has been used as a blackmail tool. For in fact, at the lowest level of police and all that, it is also used as a blackmail tool to take money out of it. So there is the economics of it. Notwithstanding that, this Deshdroh has beautifully put by my previous Professor Nalapaji.
Okay.
Yeah. Deshdroh.
So in your opinion, it is substantively different. Now, RVS Mani, Narendra Modi, Amit Shah, the BJP government are accused of the exact opposite. They're accused of draconian measures, of autocracy and autocratic behavior. Now, how is it then that they would choose to correct this? They could have let it ride. There's an election in 3-4 months. They could have let it ride. They could have let it ride for another 5 years. It's not like anybody else did anything.
See, this is where because there was vociferous tendencies happening in certain regions of the country, trying or breaking away or villainizing the ruling party and trying on making it a political tool. What they call it, that somebody is talking of not adequate funds being given for floods, or somebody is talking of communal division, somebody is talking of, as you said, Gaumutra wiped, and so it is happening on the floor of the parliament. Unfortunately, it happened.
Okay.
So that is what. And asking for packages for flood relief. See, package per se would have been asked, but just to go and pampering that.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm going to ask the larger question to Himanshu, but before that, let me get General Katoj in. General Katoj, in your opinion, now that we have had time to digest the language, do you feel that there is a welcome substantive corrective that has been done here, which in fact is promoting India's democratic and constitutional credentials, not the other way around?
Thank you, Rishabh. Yes, I absolutely agree on that. You see, when people are calling the present measures as draconian, who are they trying to support? They're trying to support a terrorist or groups of terrorists who want to create mayhem in the country and who want to create separatism. They're trying to support a set of people who are out to denigrate the country. Now, that cannot be permissible anymore. If you don't like India and you have your democratic right not to like India, then please go and find a place which you like. If this is not the country you want, then get out. But to stay here and to say that, listen, we should have a soft corner for terrorists, we should have a soft corner for people who burn down cities. I don't know what you're trying to say. So it doesn't work that way. On the other hand, you can certainly criticize the government. You can say, I do not agree with any of the policies of the Modi government. I think that is everybody's democratic right. Earlier, that was an offense. Now, a change was required. I think it has taken a very long time, Rishabh, for India to get on the path of getting rid of the colonial mindset. Ultimately, when 1947 came, the brown man simply wore the white man's shoes and kept on ruling. And it has taken a huge amount of effort on the part of the present government over the last 10 years, really, to create this mindset change.
Okay, so General Katoj, in just
one point.
Yes.
Just one. You see, this mindset change now is become very strong. It is all pervasive. And when I speak to people of the younger age group or of my own age group, that change is very visible. This change was not there 10 years ago.
Okay.
What you are seeing in India today is totally different.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to just look back about 8-9 years ago. Okay. Massive amount of street movements against Yojanas, Anna Hazare, demanding probity, demanding anti-corruption mechanisms. A lot happened. Okay. This present government was under no political pressure to either bring in the women's quota, which had been hanging fire for decades, to change the sedition law. And you can argue the merits and demerits of it. And I'm sure it will be argued before court when cases in the future do come up. But there was no pressure to do this. This is a voluntary exercise. They didn't have to do it because they had to do it. Okay? It is a voluntary exercise. One can assume proof of the pudding is in the eating. Himanshu Bhatt, so I want you now to take the larger picture. Ayodhya could have been done, should have been done. 370 could have been done, should have been done. Women's quota could have been done. All these schemes to provide free food, to provide toilets could have been done. What we've learned a lesson is that a lot of these things could have been done earlier. Now Modi has done it and he has said, I don't bring you a promise, I now bring you a guarantee. Can we take him at his word now?
Have to take him at his words. You know, from this one definition, Rajdroh to Deshdroh, I'll give you a couple of facts, NIA recovered in last 3 years 3 lakh kgs of explosives. DRI has caught drugs worth of more than 7.8 lakh crore rupees in last 6 years. Security agencies have averted more than 500 terror attacks. These three are good enough to understand what is Rajdroh and what is Deshdroh. What should be there in sedition and what should not be there. Having a free speech, Anna Hazare demonstrating, nobody objects to that, as long as it is peaceful. But when a toolkit comes in, like it happened in Shaheen Bagh, that is where the problems come. They need to be treated and they need to be dealt with once for all now. The terror modules of ISIS, how is it that in India you catch about 1,500 people? Why is it that Home Minister has to stand in Lok Sabha and say, from Manipur we destroyed poppy fields worth of 16,571 acres? Who was ruling for first 7 decades? Why did they do it? As you said, it could have been done. It should have been done. But it's not happened.
Okay. So, but Himanshu, but I have to ask you the substantive question, sir. And the substantive question is straightforward. We've been told that there was a liberal, transparent, forward-looking, progressive regime operating in India. And Narendra Modi represented a right-wing, regressive, overly conservative outlook. Now, after having done all the welfare mechanisms, after having taken all the actions as I've just delineated before you, is Narendra Modi a liberal, progressive, individual governance head? Yes or no?
He is a governance head, the world believes it. A few leftist cabal, leftist liberals, if they don't believe, that doesn't make a difference. I am being very straight and objective now. You see the election results. In 4 months' time, you will, doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani.
No, I don't know. Elections are elections. I mean, none of us can predict elections. But the point is, in your opinion, has a liberal credo here been established for the history books? People's opinions can vary forever and ever. But has a liberal credo, a liberal CV, proof of the pudding in the eating, not promises, has it been established?
He's been all inclusive. His schemes for 80 crore people have benefited everybody. It could be a Muslim, it could be anyone.
Okay.
And everybody has benefited from that.
Okay. Now, there came a measure of a promise of substantive change to the benefit of the country and not just the benefit of an individual or a political party. Professor Nalapat, can we today say with increased confidence that we have seen enough in practice that the merit of that promise is being realized, it is not being deferred?
Rishabh, I once talked to an individual who I asked, many of the people around him were staunch believers in what Mr. Bhatt calls leftist ideology. He said, I can't be leftist because I'm not rich enough. Unless I have a lot of money, I can't be leftist. And if you look at the leaders of the leftist parties and look at the leaders of those who are talking about the poor all the time, where do they come from? They come from palaces. They come from places where if you have less than 4 or 5 cars, you're considered a poor man. I mean, so my poor friend was too poor to be a leftist. Narendra Modi comes from the humblest of humble backgrounds in India. He has gone and walked across, literally walked across. This is not a, where a luxury bus follows you and where other comforts await you every evening. It is really walking across the whole country, up and down, up and down. So the man knows what poverty is. He has experienced it at first hand, not second hand, third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand, 10th hand, or even 100th hand, which some of our, some of the individuals we watch on television have. So that is a difference. And I want to point out on this north-south thing. For heaven's sake, Rishabh, I mean, I come from Kerala. Himanshu, I think, comes from Gujarat. You come from the Punjab. Do we feel that we're different from each other? Do we feel that we are different nations? Like Jinnah told us and the British told us, oh, Hindus, Muslims, different nations. As Himanshu correctly said, every scheme is there for everybody. This is utter nonsense. And when some, a very important office bearer in a very important state, a state where, frankly, the culture of that state has been promoted most by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. At least 24 times I have watched as he has promoted Tamil culture across the world in many ways. And that's a noble culture.
Yeah,
but when we talk about Sanatan Dharma is universal. It's all accepting. And I blame the education system for 70 years. They did nothing to change these wrong concepts of Sanatan Dharma, these wrong concepts of the wisdom of India, the traditions of India. And now finally when it is being changed, they object to it.
Okay,
I mean,
but I'm trying to touch upon which are complex issues, okay, and they are no, because they're complex because opinion is involved, feeling is involved, okay. A cold hard reality becomes difficult to judge. RVS money, in the detail, in the proof of the pudding, in the action speaks louder than words. Other than those whose life and livelihood is dependent upon defeating Narendra Modi and criticizing what he does, has he done enough in action to earn the grudging respect of any rational, neutral observer that he has done a lot of measures in the interest of India, not just in the interest of his party in perpetuating his governance?
Indeed, actually, I have personally implemented schemes. For example, Kushal Bharat, Kaushal Bharat, the skilling. Earlier, the industry association used to say we are not getting employable graduation. The graduates would say we are not getting job. That match is being done. It's a very robust scheme. You will not believe the impact of it. The Rojgars are happening because of, in 2014, Narendra Modi said, Kaushal Bharat, Kushal Bharat. Now you have the Swachhata Bharat is a game changer for that. People have much better public health and hygiene awareness, and subsequent to that, the implementation of the penetration of that to the remotest villages. And there are aspirational districts where the most backward districts were brought into on par with the others, or a minimum benchmark level. The smart city program. See, all these are all game changers. It is not that this fellow is sitting at the Independence Day and announcing something. They are all game changers.
Okay, so you feel, yes, that for a rational, neutral observer who might neither be a fan or a supporter, nor a person who's a needless critic, that having seen the substance of what is amounting to a life's work over 10 years, that is something enough to say that, okay, grudging respect, tap on the shoulder, this needed to get done, good it got done. So what is the premise? The General Katoch, for the longest time, there was a premise being constructed that India is a place to live in fear. We are about to see a Muslim genocide. We are about to see a right-wing fanatical authoritarian takeover, and there's a doom and gloom. With the status of the economy, the status of our foreign policy, the status of our welfare schemes, the status of our constitutional mechanisms, the status of long drawn-out internecine issues being resolved, do you get a better vibe that actually, you know what, we're doing okay, we're doing pretty okay?
Rishabh, I think the majority of Indians have got that better vibe. I'm, of course, there. But there is a group whose self-interest has been very badly hurt. And now they are looking for getting back into electoral power, which has been denied to them for the last 10 years. they thought they had the birthright to rule, and one of the ways they were doing it was to divide communities, to exploit the communal angle. The Muslim vote has been exploited the most. The Muslims of India have been exploited by these left-wing so-called liberals, and nothing has been done for their welfare. But when you talk of what the present government has done in terms of various schemes which have been across the board, which have been neutral, caste, color, race, creed, neutral, those benefits have gone equally to every single community. When we are talking of Swachh Bharat, when you're talking of bank accounts, when you're talking of direct transfer of funds, when you're talking of free rations to individuals, and I know because I'm in contact with quite a few of them. And when you go to the villages, this change is very, very distinct, especially when I'm looking at the women. But there are parties who are losing power.
Yes.
They are very, very upset.
No, and then their job is to be nitpicky and overcritical and lakir ke fakir, and that's the job. That's how it should be, and happy for it. So now I'm going to leave the very loaded question with Himanshu Bhatt. And Himanshu ji, I know is loaded because the premise itself is loaded. Let us assume for a second that a Narendra Modi does nothing else. We don't know how the elections are going to go, one way or the other. So let's say that his tenure in governance ends with this parliament session ending, because the next session is going to be a vote on account. In the past near 10 years, has Narendra Modi, without doing a single step further, he of course has other things to do, but let's assume he doesn't do a single step further, has he done enough in the past 10 years that in your book, he goes down in history that in just these 10 years, he brought substantive, positive change to the country, far removed from the fears and apprehensions and accusations that there will be genocide and right-wing takeover and chaos and authoritarianism?
Yes, he has brought in. He has brought in the change. You know, you go anywhere, either in India or outside India. Today, every Indian has a pride. Some like it. Some grudgingly accept it, as you said, And some say, okay, they walk off. That is that left liberal cabal. You are seeing actually a nation maturing in its Amrit Kal. Now that's a very, very good sign that you had a best leader of your country when you just entering Amrit Kal. So what you asked for after 10 years, if he's not there after this, what's happened? People are still going to remember him for his deeds, what he did. And he set an example for the next leader that comes about. Because people will compare. Narendra Bhai did this. What are you going to do the next? Narendra Bhai brought us to the 5th biggest economy. Where are you going to take us? See, these are the questions which are going to be asked.
Okay.
Because this is aspirational India.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, the business of predicting elections is a nefarious, dangerous one. If we could do that, then, well, all of us would be prime ministers, no? So let's just shun away from it. What I will say is that there is a scientifically established fact, and the biggest test is in the democracy of India and the sheer numbers. It's called the wisdom of the crowd. It's a scientifically established fact. You can read upon it yourself. Now, we have to judge. An election is coming up and people will have to judge. And the judging is going to be based on what? You can perfectly base it on, I don't like the person. I like his work. I like the things he's done. I don't like the person. I don't want to vote for him. It's a fair assessment in a democracy on why people make a decision. But when we do a cold, hard calculus, that even your worst critics, the reality is there has been no genocide. There has been no right-wing takeover. The Muslims have got the houses as the Sikhs have got the nalkas and the Christians have got the gas cylinders. A lot of painful problems that were a sore on India have just been dealt with. They're just done. Ayodhya 500 years debate, Article 370 80 years debate, chali ja raha hai, Tariq pe tariq, generation pe generation, is not just getting solved. They are done. The women's quota, I mean, my entire adult life we've been discussing women's quota. Nobody is bothering to do it. It's done. It'll be implemented in a couple of years. So, we can nitpick, we should nitpick, we should understand, not be naive that the devil is always in the detail. Yes, some things governments and people in power try to blazon over as bigger than they are. But the reason we're having this conversation is that the sum total of all the activities that you're seeing on your screen, which are done, they're not something which are planning to be done. It's not a promise for the next election. It's finished. We've done it. Okay? Sedition and the change in terminology and the statement on record by the Home Minister making it clear that you are free to criticize the government, you are not free to campaign against the unity and integrity of India, says something substantive. Beyond that, of course, is for you to judge. Is this reasonable for the BJP to say that we are now on the premise not of promises but of guarantees?
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.